Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Even while we still keep our eyes on that very vexed issue of how well this administration is going about fighting corruption, we also have to keep our eyes very close to the security situation in the country. And we're getting feelers from Yobe State in Dapchi. Let's go quickly there to our correspondent, Jonathan, who is in Dapchi. Okay, I understand that there are some concerns there, but we'll try to get across to Jonathan to give us an update on the kind of feelings that we're hearing so that we have it very clearly here on Sunrise Daily. But we'd like to thank you so much indeed, Pascal Odibo, for joining us on Sunrise Daily to look at the, basically corruption. You did hear the Vice President a couple of days back talked about how this administration is faring in the war against corruption. Also, comparing notes with the previous administration, and made categorical statements of some amounts of monies that were withdrawn just before the 2015 elections. But in going forward, what would you like to see? How do you see this playing out, just so that we don't have the mistakes that we had leading up to the 2015 general elections for 2019?
Thank you. Well, there is a place for comparative analysis where you are able to examine some kind of introspection as to how you're fared, how your competition is faring. Is a common practice in business, and I dare say in politics. However, some of these analyses are better done by third parties because they are the recipient and the consumers of your services, and there is a lot much more credible and a lot much more strategic, and that's why people look out for, institutions like the World Bank, the independent organizations, Amnesty International, to be able to evaluate. Not only that, not that you have your own internal evaluation, but this a lot much more comes on a lot much as a better and a more credible, evaluation. But having said that, I think you should not wallow in the sphere of comparisons. I did it better, or I would do it better. I'm more concerned whenever any institution or person or corporate comes on. What I ask is, what is your vision? What do you see? And it's not exactly what you see that really matters to me, what you tell me that you see that matters to me. It is what you're doing as a result of what you are seeing. And that is what is called vision. Vision is not what you're seeing. The blind can see. They tell you. Everybody has plethora of sights. It is what you are doing. What you are seeing is so compelling that you begin to do something now. You begin to recalibrate what you're doing, begin to change what you're doing now. And so that's why vision is driven by strategy. Strategy is driven by business model. A business model is driven by action plans. An action plan is monitored by KPIs. This KPI sits on the people, on your substratum, which is the human capital, the people that perform all this. So, ab initio, you should be able to ask, what is your overarching vision? And then, what are you doing as a result of this compelling thing that
Let me ask you a direct question. Do you think that this administration is better off fighting corruption than previous administrations? Is it doing a good job?
They've done some work. That is, you can't deny that. However, I'm still at my strategy. If you say you want, that was a major plank for their campaign, and somebody said, and they got Nigerians to vote for them. I am looking for a much more strategic pursuit of engaging and dealing with corruption. There are certain things, if you face them head on, they will come after you. So strategy becomes a better way.
It means corruption is fighting back?
No, that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is this. There are better ways to engage. You have children. Some of them, if you confront them, they'll come after you. Some of them, you will find a way to get around it. You know all over the world that corruption is an issue. So every day you say you are fighting corruption, you're fighting corruption, you're fighting corruption. You are giving them the people that are corrupt to know that you are doing something about this. I am trying to see the strategy to deal with corruption, apart from breaking people's house in the middle of the night and finding out what money is in some. You're looking for announcements.
So
if you are strategic about corruption, by now, there will be an ingraining of that spirit in our people. This is 3 years down the line. Just as Mokbo was saying to the previous guest, you are still seeing pervasive bribery and corruption at middle and lower rungs. You are still seeing people blazingly going against traffic.
Okay,
well, if you call corruption just going to open up a vote and saying 4.5, those are sound bites that everybody will want to.
You have to hold on for it.
But let's come back to our discussion here. Why do you think that the Transparency International's figures that were released just very recently, does it seem to suggest to you, for instance, that corruption in Nigeria is more endemic now than ever before?
Well, you know, I made a comment, and I think that should be an overarching comment on this issue. It is one thing to say, I am. It's another thing for another person to say, there you are. Okay? You know, when Jesus was on earth, when he was doing his work, after some time, he asked the apostles, who do men think I am? It's not because he didn't know who he was, but he wanted a situation where people will be able to wanted to find out what I'm doing. Is it affecting? Am I achieving the end for which what I'm doing, I am doing them? So whether it's the World Bank that speaks about the economy, or the Transparency International that speaks about issues of transparency in the country, it is a wake-up call to the government to perhaps look at what they are doing, you know, and find out and be sure that it does. And it is supposed to be dealing with the issues, because you can be scratching people, you know, at the wrong spot.
Now, talking about scratching people at the wrong spot, when you started out talking about what they're seeing, vision, and then what you're doing about what you're seeing. Now, when the government of this present government, when they were campaigning, they had something they were seeing. So they had something they were seeing. They came in and they, according to them, they met an unstable situation in government, their accounts depleted and all of that. How do you, in a chaotic situation, do value-based management?
Listen, it is, in my place, there is a saying, it means that suddenness is what surprises a strong man. Yet it is in this suddenness that a strong man is known. You know, it has nothing to do with the chaos or the chaotic or stormy situation that you came in. That's why you came in the first instance. You know, it is questionable now whether indeed people we are seeing. They could have been seen, but they couldn't bring themselves to a place to be able to develop a strategy to deal with what they were seeing. You know, the point I'm making here is this: it is not sufficient to see.